He went in like a stranger, trying to find the spirit of his own restaurant, and left asking himself if there was any spirit left to find. You know how they say the real test of character is seeing how folks treat someone they figure can't do a thing for them? That exact thought was running through Andre Washington's head as he parked his sedan and stared at the red and white neon sign. Mama Jean's Kitchen. It had been, what, 18 months since he'd come through those doors just as a customer. Being the owner, he was usually tied up in meetings, dealing with vendors, or making sure things ran like clockwork from behind the scenes. But lately, a little something had been gnawing at him. A couple of bad online comments, whispers from people he trusted, complaints that just didn't sound like his place. His gut screamed that something was wrong. So he did what most owners probably wouldn't. He put on some worn denim pants, the ones with a fray near the cuff, a washed-out gray sweatshirt zipped only part way, and a Yankees cap pulled down low. No one would peg him for the boss dressed this way, not even the people whose paychecks he signed. He entered the diner around 12:52 p.m., right when the lunch crowd was thickest. The first thing that hit him was the smell, savory pot roast, buttery biscuits, and that rich aroma of gravy hanging in the air. It was the kind of smell that could make your worries disappear just for a moment. Jean, his grandma, always said that good food was like a warm hug you could taste. This restaurant was meant to be just like that, just like her. But as Andre got in line and looked around, something felt off right away. Nobody said hello, not even a quick nod or a smile. One of the cashiers, Kevin, a slim guy with a buzz cut who always looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, was fiddling with his phone below the counter. The other, a young woman named Brenda, was snapping her gums so loud he could hear it over the classic rock coming from the speakers. Next, Brenda mumbled, not even glancing up. Andre moved to the counter. "Could I get the roast beef on rye with a side of coleslaw, please?" Still avoiding his eyes, she poked at the register screen. "That all?" "Yeah, that's it, thanks." He handed over cash and moved off to the side, waiting. That's when he caught it. "See that guy?" Kevin muttered, a smirk on his face as he tucked his phone away. "Another one of those. Probably thinks—" Brenda let out a short laugh. "Bet Shirley over there won't even leave a tip. They never do. See, that's the problem when you let just anyone walk in. Ever since they started hiring from that community outreach initiative or whatever it is, this place has been nosediving." Real quick, Andre just blinked. "They say the owner's some big shot. A black fella, too," she continued. "But he's never around here. Probably off in Beverly Hills drinking some wheatgrass smoothie," Kevin added with a chuckle. "And we're stuck here doing all the work. I bet he doesn't even know who half his employees are." Andre stood there, rooted to the spot. His sandwich was likely getting made, but he couldn't bring himself to move. They had no idea who he was, not a single sign of recognition. He should have felt his blood boil, and it did. But underneath that anger was a colder, sharper feeling. It was disappointment. This restaurant, his restaurant, it meant the world to him. Mama Jean's Kitchen wasn't just about pot roast and biscuits. It was about giving people a chance, people who'd been overlooked, people who'd been shut out, people like he used to be. But listening to them now, it sounded like the folks wearing his restaurant's name on their shirts didn't get the first thing about what this place stood for. He scanned the room. An older gentleman in a business suit sat by the window, looking annoyed at his coffee cup. A young mom was trying to soothe her fussy baby while she waited for a server who hadn't been by in maybe 15 minutes. There wasn't any laughter, no sense of welcome. Jean wouldn't have known this place. Andre turned, walked slowly back to Brenda at the counter and said, "Actually, I need to cancel that sandwich." Kevin barely reacted. "You sure, man?" "Yeah," Andre said, his voice empty. "Just lost my appetite." Then he walked out, the door clicking shut behind him, and slumped into his car, just staring at the steering wheel. The air inside felt thick. His fingertips drummed a restless beat on the dashboard. What stung more, that they didn't recognize him, or that they just didn't seem to care at all? One thing was for sure, though, he wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. He needed to find out how far this rot went. It was time to do a lot more listening before he said a single word. Andre didn't start the car. He just leaned his head back against the seat, the gray sweatshirt bunched behind him, the engine silent. Their words, so casual, so mocking, echoed in his ears. That total lack of concern. It wasn't just what they'd said, but how easily it had rolled off their tongues. like it was routine for them. He watched through the windshield as people came and went. A girl in a school uniform, a construction guy knocking dirt from his work boots, a couple bickering quietly as they found a booth. This was supposed to be more than just a diner. That was his grandmother's name, glowing up there above the door. And it felt like somehow that light just didn't mean a thing to the people working inside anymore. He waited. Maybe 10 minutes trickled by, then closer to 15. Finally, Andre got out, strolled down the block, bought a coffee at the corner convenience store, and then circled back to the alleyway behind Mama Jean's. There weren't any cameras out back, just a dented old steel door, the one the kitchen staff used for their smoke breaks. And what did he see right above it? A kitchen window, cracked open just enough. That's when he heard more voices. Inside, a deep, hearty laugh rumbled out. That had to be Big Mike, the main man on the grill. Andre knew that laugh. He'd hired Mike years back, after his parole officer had vouched for him. Mike had been in a real rough spot then, but he'd busted his tail and really got his life together. Now he was even a kind of mentor to the younger guys in the kitchen. "I'm telling you," Kevin's voice piped up again, "he's never gonna show. And if he does, he'll just strut in here all high and mighty. Probably act like he personally invented pot roast or something." More laughter. "Yeah," Brenda chimed in, "Mr. Invisible Owner. That's my name for him. They got his little photo up on the wall, sure, but you never see the guy. Seriously, who runs a business like that?" Big Mike didn't join their laughter. Instead, Andre heard the distinct sound of a chair scraping back. "You two know he started this whole place with maybe 250 and a grill in his backyard, don't you?" Mike's voice was low but firm. "Yeah." "So," Brenda snapped back. "So show some respect," Mike grumbled. "This isn't just another paycheck for some of us. Some of us actually remember what this place used to stand for." A heavy silence followed. Kevin just scoffed. "Man, lighten up. You talk like he kicked the bucket or something. I'm just saying, if he can't be bothered to show his face, why should we knock ourselves out?" Mike let out a sigh, loud enough for Andre to hear it through the open window. "Keep on talking that way, and you'll see soon enough why good people don't last around here," he said. "Respect's a two-way street, you know." Andre stepped away from the building. He was torn, so proud of Big Mike, but also so ashamed that Kevin and Brenda had somehow fallen through the cracks. Where had he messed up? When did trying to be hands-off turn into just being gone? He recalled Grandma Jean's words, things she'd say over and over while stirring her big batches of chili in their tiny kitchen, back in Mobile, Alabama. "Son, a garden won't grow if you don't tend it," she'd tell him. "Doesn't make a lick of difference how good your seeds are if there's no water." He'd brought in good people, he thought, but then he'd basically abandoned them. No guidance, no one checking in, no him. And that maybe was even worse than being a bad manager, just being a ghost. Still, before he jumped to any conclusions, he needed more. He had to see more. That evening, Andre sent a short group text to the entire staff. "Team meeting, 9:15 a.m. tomorrow. Mandatory attendance, no excuses." That was it. No pleasantries, no smileys, just enough to make them uneasy. Then he found a hotel room just outside Pasadena, far from his usual haunts, and sat at a small table with a notepad, jotting down every single thing he could recall from the day. Tomorrow wasn't about firing anyone, not right away. This was about something much bigger. It was about trying to fix the soul of Mama Jean's. But to do that, he first had to look in the eyes of the people who were chipping away at it, and the ones who were desperately trying to hold it together. And he'd have to do it without the sweatshirt. The next morning arrived too quickly. Andre hadn't slept much, not from anxiety, but because his brain just wouldn't switch off. Every little detail from the day before just kept replaying. Brenda's loud gum snapping and her mockery, Kevin's know-it-all tone, and Big Mike trying to keep the ship from sinking. At 8:53 a.m., Andre was parked outside the diner again. This time, no sweatshirt, no disguise, just a navy sport coat over a crisp shirt, denim, and loafers. His typical outfit when he used to stop by before. Well, before the way things were before then. From his car, he watched his employees arrive, one after the other. Brenda, late as usual, glued to her phone, barely looking where she was going. Kevin, smirking at something on his phone, earbuds firmly in. Big Mike was the first one there. He was already unlocking the side entrance with a key Andre himself had given him. Then came the others. Two guys from dishwashing, three servers, and a cook named Letitia, who Andre had hired right after she'd finished a cooking program and couldn't catch a break anywhere else. He waited until the dashboard clock showed 9:07, then he took a breath, opened his car door, and got out. Heads definitely turned. The first person to notice him was Letitia. Her eyebrows shot straight up. Then Big Mike's gaze met Andre's, and Mike gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. A nod of respect, of recognition. But Brenda and Kevin? They just froze mid-motion, like someone had suddenly hit their mute button. Andre walked right past them without saying a word and went into his own diner. Inside, the rest of the staff were gathered near the front booths, standing around awkwardly, clearly not sure what to do. He let the quiet stretch out for a beat, longer than comfortable. Then he cleared his throat. "All right, everyone, I won't take up too much of your time," he began, "but there are some things I need to say, and I really need you to listen. Really listen." He paused, letting his eyes sweep across their faces. "This place, it's named for my grandmother, Jean Marie Washington. She passed on about 17 years ago, but if you'd ever had the chance to meet her, you'd get why this restaurant is about so much more than just profits, or food, or getting good reviews." Letitia's expression softened. Big Mike seemed to stand a little taller. She was the kind of person who'd feed you whether you had money or not, who handed out second chances like they were free samples, who truly believed people weren't failures, just unseen. He let his gaze drift across the room. Brenda was staring fixedly at her trainers. Kevin looked like he'd rather be having a root canal. "When I first opened Mama Jean's Kitchen, I wanted to build her kind of kitchen, but bigger, a place where folks could come to eat, to work, to laugh, and to feel like they actually belonged." He took a step closer. "But yesterday I walked in here and I barely knew the place. That definitely got them listening. I was dressed just like anyone off the street, ordered some food, was standing right over there," Andre said, gesturing to where he'd waited. "And I heard a couple of employees going on about the guy who supposedly owns this joint, how he's never around, how he clearly doesn't give a damn, and bad-mouthing new staff like they were nothing." He didn't need to name them. Everyone in that room knew who he meant. I heard every word. And I left without my roast beef sandwich, without saying a thing because I had to figure out what had gone so sideways. He looked straight at Brenda, then at Kevin. "I own this restaurant. I started it with next to nothing and a lot of borrowed chair, but somewhere down the line, says, yeah, I let things slip. I wasn't around enough. That part's my fault." He drew a steadying breath. "But that kind of disrespect, that not caring, that's on you." The silence in the room was thick, the kind that settles when a hard truth lands right in the middle of everyone and there's no way to avoid it. Nobody budged, not a foot shuffle, not a cough, just all eyes pinned on Andre, like he might suddenly upend the whole diner. Brenda finally risked a glance up, just a fraction. She had that little smirk people get when they know they're caught, but aren't quite ready to own it. Kevin leaned back against the service counter, arms crossed, his face a tight mask. He was trying for cool, but his foot was tapping a nervous rhythm he probably didn't even notice. Andre moved more into the center of the gathered staff. "I'm not about to start yelling," he said, his voice even, "but I am absolutely here to get this sorted out." He glanced over at Big Mike. "Some of you still carry the real spirit of this place, and I appreciate that more than I can say." His eyes shifted to the others. "But the rest? You've been punching the clock, collecting your pay and acting like this place is beneath you. That stops today." The heavy silence finally cracked a bit when a server, Tasha, a woman in her early 30s, slowly put her hand up. "Mr. Washington," she said, "I had no idea you were watching us like that, but thank you for being here now." He gave her a small nod. "I should have done this a long time ago," he admitted. "I let my being away create confusion, let people make up stories that just weren't true." He turned back to face the whole group. "So now everything's out in the open. New ground rules, new standards, but also new opportunities. He took a folded paper from his jeans pocket and opened it up. Starting next Monday, we're going to have monthly staff meetings, proper ones, not just quick chats in the hallway. You'll see me on here at least twice a week, and we're bringing back customer comment cards, real feedback from the folks actually eating here, not just stuff on those online review sites. Someone mumbled, "About time," and it didn't sound sarcastic, it sounded relieved. But understand this, he added, his tone sharpening just at a touch. If you don't want to be a part of this, then don't bother showing up. Don't waste my energy or disrespect this restaurant by faking it. This is more than just a treat, not at Mama Jean's. If you can't bring some basic respect into this building, for the customers, for the food, for what we're trying to do, then you're welcome to find work elsewhere. Nobody made a move for the door, not yet. Then he turned slowly to face Kevin and Brenda. They both straightened up a bit, but neither spoke. "You two," he said, "come with me." He headed toward the back office and held the door open, not looking to see if they followed. After a moment's hesitation, they did. They found themselves in the small hallway by the storeroom. No customers around, no other staff watching. Just the three of them. Andre closed the door softly. "I'm giving you both a chance right now," he said, his voice low, "to tell me straight. Tell me what this place means to you, or what it doesn't." Kevin let out a breath and looked away. Brenda crossed her arms over her chest. Andre waited. "Look, man, I just work here," Kevin said at last. "It ain't personal. It's a paycheck." "Then you've been cashing the wrong kind of paycheck," Andre replied evenly. "Because this place was never supposed to be just about the money." Brenda looked at him then. "Okay, fine, but you were never here. We kind of felt like it didn't make a difference." "Fair enough," Andre conceded. "That's on me. I stepped back when I shouldn't have." He leaned against the wall, arms folded. "But how does my absence excuse talking about your coworkers like they're dirt, or making fun of the same guy who signs your paychecks? You think that kind of attitude builds any kind of team?" Brenda looked down at the floor. "No," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Kevin stayed silent. Andre went on. "I'm not firing you, not today, because maybe what this place needs isn't to get rid of people, but to have better ones. People who can learn, people who are willing to grow." He gestured towards the kitchen door. "But you have exactly one opportunity to show me you belong here. And that starts this minute. Show me you care, not by what you say, but by how you treat every single person who walks through that door and everyone who works alongside you. And if you can't do that, then walk away now." Neither of them moved. He pushed the office door open and walked back out, leaving it to them to decide whether to follow. Back in the main dining area, the vibe had definitely changed. It wasn't exactly cheerful, but people were attentive, focused. Andre clapped his hands together sharply once. "All right, folks, we open in about half an hour. Let's see if Mama Jean's is really still in this room." But even as they all started moving, he knew this fight wasn't won, not by a long shot. The true challenge was just about to begin. The lunch crowd hit right on schedule. By 12:10 p.m., the queue was already snaking towards the front entrance. Familiar faces mixed with new ones, kids begging for extra fries, a guy in work clothes reading a creased newspaper while sipping iced tea. Life was pouring back into the diner, just like it used to. Andre didn't just sit and watch. He positioned himself near the beverage counter, notepad in hand, observing quietly. No shouting, no hovering over anyone on his shoulder, just keeping his eyes open, making mental notes. Letitia worked the grill with a practiced ease, like it was second nature. Big Mike moved around the kitchen like a maestro leading his players. Tasha was all smiles, going to each table she served, sharing little jokes that actually got people laughing. But over at the registers, that's where you could still feel a wobble. Brenda was definitely making an effort. You could see it plain as day. She managed more smiles today, held herself a bit taller, and said, "Thank you," like she actually meant it. But it felt a little stiff, like when you're trying to break in a new pair of shoes. Kevin, though, stayed mostly silent, processed orders mechanically, avoided looking anyone in the eye, and slipped into the back every chance he got. Around 12:52, the same time he'd come in his day before, Andre saw a young man in a washed-out sweatshirt enter. He looked to be around 20, clearly anxious, his eyes darting around. He kept one hand shoved in his pocket and scanned the diner almost like he was checking for fire exits. Brenda glanced his way, then quickly looked down. Kevin actually took a step back from the register. Just then, Big Mike came out from the kitchen, drying his hands on a dishcloth. He gave the young man a single nod and said just loud enough, "You'll be all right." The kid paused, then took a tentative step toward the counter and spoke to Brenda. Can I get the fried chicken special with, greens instead of the fries?" His voice was so quiet you could barely hear it. Brenda tapped at the screen. "That be all?" He nodded. As she was ringing him up, Andre saw her shoot a quick look at Kevin, who didn't meet her gaze. He just turned his back, arms folded. "Order'll be up in about 10, Brenda mumbled. "Thanks," the kid said. He then moved aside, clutching his payment ticket like it was a winning lottery number. Andre had seen enough for now. When the line died down, he went to the counter, looking Brenda right in the eyes. "Any idea who that young man was?" She blinked a few times. "No, should I?" "His name is Jason Peters. He just got into the community outreach initiative a few days ago. Someone suggested he try us." Brenda's lips parted slightly. "Oh, he's not a threat," Andre said quietly. "He's not damaged. He's just looking for a fresh start. Just like a lot of folks who found work in this very kitchen." He let that sink in. Brenda's expression shifted, not a huge change, but it was there. A touch of guilt, perhaps a glimmer of understanding. "He looked like he wanted to just disappear," she said softly. Andre nodded. That's how a lot of the people feel when the world has a way of making them feel invisible. She looked down at her hands. "I'm really sorry. I mean that." "I know you do," he said, "but don't tell me. Show it in how you treat the next 10 customers who walk up to this counter." A short while later, Jason got his meal. Big Mike brought it out to him personally, offering a warm smile and a quick fist bump. That little gesture seemed to be the spark. The rest of that shift went smoother than any they had had in weeks. It was like the whole place had finally gotten the right kind of oil change. By closing time, the tip cup was overflowing, the kitchen gleamed, and folks seemed to linger a bit longer over their coffee. Andre was sitting at his usual table near the front as the team started their cleanup. Kevin walked over to him slowly, wiping his hands on a cloth. Can I get the fried chicken special with, greens instead of the fries?" His voice was so quiet you could barely hear it. Brenda tapped at the screen. "That be all?" He nodded. As she was ringing him up, Andre saw her shoot a quick look at Kevin, who didn't meet her gaze. He just turned his back, arms folded. "Order'll be up in about 10, Brenda mumbled. "Thanks," the kid said. He then moved aside, clutching his payment ticket like it was a winning lottery number. Andre had seen enough for now. When the line died down, he went to the counter, looking Brenda right in the eyes. "Any idea who that young man was?" She blinked a few times. "No, should I?" "His name is Jason Peters. He just got into the community outreach initiative a few days ago. Someone suggested he try us." Brenda's lips parted slightly. "Oh, he's not a threat," Andre said quietly. "He's not damaged. He's just looking for a fresh start. Just like a lot of folks who found work in this very kitchen." He let that sink in. Brenda's expression shifted, not a huge change, but it was there. A touch of guilt, perhaps a glimmer of understanding. "He looked like he wanted to just disappear," she said softly. Andre nodded. That's how a lot of the people feel when the world has a way of making them feel invisible. She looked down at her hands. "I'm really sorry. I mean that." "I know you do," he said, "but don't tell me. Show it in how you treat the next 10 customers who walk up to this counter." A short while later, Jason got his meal. Big Mike brought it out to him personally, offering a warm smile and a quick fist bump. That little gesture seemed to be the spark. The rest of that shift went smoother than any they had had in weeks. It was like the whole place had finally gotten the right kind of oil change. By closing time, the tip cup was overflowing, the kitchen gleamed, and folks seemed to linger a bit longer over their coffee. Andre was sitting at his usual table near the front as the team started their cleanup. Kevin walked over to him slowly, wiping his hands on a cloth. He looked uneasy, but the earlier cockiness was gone. "I talked way too much," he said, his voice low. "Didn't even realize how it sounded." It wasn't just that you were loud, Kevin, Andre replied, his tone not harsh, but direct. You were wrong. Kevin nodded. Yeah. A moment of silence passed. Then he added, I don't want to lose this job, Mr. Washington. I can do better. Andre gave a brief nod. I'm a big believer in second chances, son, but only when the first mistake is truly understood and owned. Kevin stood a little straighter. Understood. He walked away then, not with a swagger, not defeated, just thoughtful. The diner's culture wasn't magically fixed, not yet, but today it felt like a window had been cracked open, and a little bit of light was finally managing to get in. The next morning, Andre was there before the sun came up. He stood by himself in the stowaway dark kitchen, a mug of coffee warming his hands, his eyes fixed on an old, faded photo pinned to the bulletin board above the work counter. It was his grandma Jean wearing her favorite Sunday hat, arms crossed, a smile on her face that was both stern and loving, the kind of look that told you she didn't suffer fools, but she'd always have your back. He spoke softly to the photo, to himself. I almost let this place slip away, Grandma. Then he reached out and flicked on the main kitchen lights. By 7:30 a.m., the comforting smell of sausage and pancake batter was beginning to fill the air. He'd asked everyone to come in for another quick meeting. No one was surprised this time. It was just a chance to touch base before the breakfast rush. They gathered in the main dining area, some sitting in booths, others leaning against the counters. The whole feeling in the room was noticeably lighter than it had been all week. Andre stepped into the middle of the group. I just wanted to thank all of you for how you handled things yesterday.